Hello and welcome back to my channel. She Says Happiness. I'm Mary Ellen, and in this video today I want to talk about my top 5 sewing patterns. Now the only thing that makes them my top 5 sewing patterns is the fact that I have probably made them more than anything else in my wardrobe. They are definite repeaters, ones that you'll want to go back to again and again and again, not only to get the most out of the money you've spent on those patterns, but also to get the most out of the time and the effort you've put into fitting patterns. That's the reason why I tend to revisit mine a lot. It takes much more time toiling and getting the fit of a pattern right than it does to actually make a garment. And sometimes I would just find that it would be a total waste of all that time if I only ever made that garment once and never came back to it again. So these are repeat performers for me. And I also have chosen these 5 because I could have chosen many others, because I think that they are perfect for all levels of sewists, whether you be a beginner starting out in your sewing journey with only a few garments under your belt, or whether you have been sewing for the last 3 decades. I think everyone would get some enjoyment and pleasure out of these patterns. Now, I'm just going to get into it because I am actually in the middle of sewing. I've just taken a little break. I'm just making a shirt dress here, so I've got to the point where I've made the bodice, my collar is in, the facing is on, it just needs stitched, but it's very fiddly, so I thought I'd take a break and just calm the sewing nerves before I get stuck into that. So I'm going to make a little video and share these patterns with you. Now, first one that I want to share is the Sew Over It Marguerite dress. If you've ever seen the 100 Foot Journey, this dress is based on one that was worn by Charlotte Le Bon, playing the part of Marguerite, from whence the name actually comes. And even before I was sewing, I loved this dress, I loved this style. So it was quite a surprise to find it. And a lot of people would say even the By Hand London Anna dress is a wee bit similar. I think it's the Anna. I'll check. But to me this is just, and you can see I've made another one already, this is the epitome of my style. Nice fitted waist, lovely floaty skirt, and just a nice neckline that has absolutely no frills or anything like that, just a really simple classic silhouette. I personally think that this is just a pattern that works for my body. I'm going to have to stick a few pictures of these in as I go. I was amazed and delighted to find whenever I first made this that it fitted really well without making any modifications, and to be honest I've never bothered making any ever since. I was really enjoying the fact that this was my unicorn dress, that one thing that fitted out of the packet, so to speak, because that does not happen, let's be honest. So the fact that there were serial modifications made to this pattern are great, but that's not to say that's not drafted into the pattern, because actually the design of it makes it a very forgiving fit. For a start, you've got dolman sleeves, which you can see here actually just behind me. You only have one dart, you have a bust dart, that is it. All of the other fitting actually is done by gathers. So at the bottom of your bodice in the center you have gathers, at the back either side of the zip you have gathers, and the entire skirt is gathered, and that's where all the fitting work is done. But having that lovely fitted waistband just makes a really classic silhouette, and I love it. It kind of accentuates the curves, but also with that dolman sleeve I feel like it balances me out a bit, and that's just my personal experience. I don't know what you'd think of it if you made it for your body, but I feel like it really does help my figure and do it justice in a way. Generally the Sew Over It vintage patterns are a staple in my wardrobe, and I probably could have chosen 5 or 6 others as top favourites. But for me, I just think because I've made this the most, it would be hard not to recommend it. I also think it's a really easy make. As I say, there's really only a lot of gathering, one bust dart, and very limited fitting changes that you would ever have to make. It just has a facing there to finish it off, so nothing complicated. I think the only thing that might annoy people slightly, because I do know there's a lot of people out there who do not like hand stitching, there is a bit of hand stitching that needs to be done there on the cuffs, and also in sewing the waistband, the inner waistband into place. You could always be lazy and stitch in the ditch. Personally, I absolutely hate that technique. I've used it once, I'll never use it again because I don't like unpicking. I just don't like it. I much prefer that classic finish where everything is entirely hidden and you don't have to stress about, you know, keeping your eyes from straining when you're working in less light than what you might like. I tend to sew mostly in evenings, if not at the weekend, so I don't have an awful lot of natural light by the time I get home from work, if any at all. Yeah, so I've made quite a few of these, as I've said. It is a pattern that is intended, I think, for lightweight fabrics like rayons, even cotton lawns, that kind of thing. But I don't really pay any attention to what it says a pattern is supposed to be made in, and I tend to just make it in whatever fabric I like and whatever I think would suit the shape of the dress rather than anything else. I'm a bit of a rebel that way. I have made this in everything from double gauze, I'll pop in pictures, to cotton canvas, and I know people would look at you as if you were mad probably for making a dress of this style in a cotton canvas, but I want to pop a picture in because I have, and I actually love how full a silhouette you get from making it in those sturdier fabrics. And again, this was a particularly lovely cotton canvas anyhow, so it wasn't harsh in the skin or anything like that. It was beautifully soft inside, so it made it quite perfect actually for making a dress rather than just dungarees or something like that, which I wouldn't wear anyhow. So I had to use the fabric, it was in my stash. Pattern number 2 then that I want to share is one that is maybe less well known. It's by a smaller independent studio called Kosedo. The designer there, Vanessa, is absolutely amazing. I just think she has expert knowledge, and she does because she's a long industrious history working in fashion. I just think that she has so much knowledge of real female curvy bodies, and the Lima dress, I have to say, is one of my all-time favorite patterns. I discovered this last year at the beginning of my sewing journey and I fell in love automatically. It has princess seams. It might possibly have been the first time I made a princess seam. It just has a V-neck. It's got a gathered skirt and it has the 2 length options built in, and it has beautiful puff sleeves, and I really love a puff sleeve. I just feel like it balances me out a little bit, and I also like a bit of drama, and a puff sleeve is a really easy way of adding drama, I think, to any garment, and I can understand as well that they're also super feminine. And you can get a whole range of versions out of this dress just by mixing up the fabric and things like that. So I'm going to share a few of the versions I've made. I have made it in like this red satin version. I've made a cotton poplin version. I've also made like broderie anglaise. I've made quite a few, and I just think it's quite an impactful, simple but an impactful pattern. I do think as well that the instructions are really good. It's also a lined bodice, so if you are setting off and you've never created a lined bodice before, it's a really good place to start. The instructions really do take you by the hand and guide you through. I just think that this is a signature look for any woman. I don't think you could go far wrong. And one of the other things about it that is so wonderful is that it has 3 bust sizes drafted into the pattern. So there was no FBA needed for me. It was amazing. The only thing I had to do actually was take a little bit out of the neckline and adapt the shoulders slightly. I think I did a narrow shoulder adjustment. That's all it was. And absolutely love this. I just think everyone should try this pattern. Do check out Kosedo Studio. Pattern number 3. So this is a top pattern, but for me it actually became a dress. It's the Charm Patterns Rita blouse, which I believe was the very first pattern Gertie released when she started off her Charm Patterns line. What's not to love about this pattern? It's a peasant blouse. It's beautiful, it's romantic, it's elegant, it's feminine, it's absolutely stunning, and it was one of the first things I actually bought when I started out on my sewing journey. And I think sometimes I say that quite a lot, but I did a lot of pattern buying before I even knew what style I wanted to sew. So yeah, I didn't pick it up for a long time because I'm not even remotely interested in making top patterns. I do make a lot of cardigans and sweaters, tops not so much because I'm not really a trouser person. In fact, I own 0 pairs of trousers, but I am going to try and make a pair soon. I only have a few skirts in my wardrobe. Dresses are the staple of my wardrobe. It's just what I love. I don't like how separates separate me. And I think the only separates in my wardrobe that I truly adore are actually the picnic set, which I made in the summer. And that's because I've made them out of a matching fabric. So I can wear those pieces interchangeably or together. I think they're beautiful together, but I think that's because it looks like a dress rather than 2 pieces. So anyhow, it took me a while to realize that this beautiful Rita blouse didn't have to be made as a blouse, and all I had to do was stick a skirt on it and I could use that pattern after all. So it's the easiest hack of all time really to turn a top into a dress. All you have to do is cut it where your waistline sits, add your seam allowance, usually 5/8 of an inch, and add your skirt to the bottom. And the easiest one of all is just a gathered skirt. So 2 rectangles of fabric, stitch down the side, put on the top, boom, you're done. And I now have made quite a few versions of this. It's a lovely, lovely pattern. And the one thing I would say, so if you do go to make it and you go to hack it into a dress from a top, I have discovered that the zip is not necessary. The way the shaping is done around the shoulders and the neckline is that there is an elastic channel, so you can actually get this dress on and off without a zip. So if you want a nice quick easy make without any zip bother, that's the one to go for. So yeah, I think I made 4, maybe 5 of these, and I'll definitely revisit that pattern again. And there's actually a bishop sleeve expansion as well, and I'll pop a picture in because I made a gorgeous Halloween black dress with bishop sleeve in lace, which I absolutely loved. So yeah, you can take any pattern and just make it your own and mix it up and change it as you like. The 4th pattern I feel guilty for mentioning, by the way, because I'm wearing it at the moment, and the 4th pattern is no longer available to buy on the market. Now you can sometimes get lucky and strike gold on eBay or in somebody's de-stash sale. I was the lucky person who got it from her friend. Yeah, but it's just a simple jersey dress, fit and flare. You can't go wrong. This is the Colette Patterns Moneta. Do keep an eye out if you're ever on eBay or anything like that, because if you do get it, you will make this again and again and again. It'll become just another wardrobe staple. And again, I've made this in dressier fabrics and have lovely dresses that I'm happy to wear in the evening. I'll pop in pictures as per usual, but it's so straightforward, and it is an excellent introduction to anybody who maybe hasn't sewn with jersey before. And there are a few variations built into this pattern, which I love. So you have different sleeve lengths. You also have the option of a choice of colours. And the skirt, which is intended in the pattern to be a gathered skirt, is quite easily switched out for something else. If I just pop a picture in here for you, you'll see that I have made a circle skirt, and I think it's quite impactful. I absolutely love it. But there are a few different jersey dresses on the market that aren't all that dissimilar to Colette Moneta. I know that Ellie and Mac and Sew Over It both have very similar versions of this pattern, so it's not difficult to find something that will stand in the place of this. But yeah, a very simple fit and flare jersey dress is a staple in any girl's wardrobe. So my last pattern I want to talk about is, and I actually bought this because I do love the packaging of the Jennifer Lauren Handmade. This is the Juniper Cardigan. This is a beautiful pattern. So this is to be made with like stable stretch. So if you are not all that comfortable making stretch garments, because you're sewing with a stable stretch fabric, you'd actually be okay with this. Don't get too concerned with the fact that it says here on the pattern sleeve that this is for intermediate and advanced sewists. It's not. I made this as a beginner and I found it absolutely fine. There's only one little part that you might find a wee bit tricky, and that is when you are sewing in the sleeve into the shoulder. There, it's just a wee bit odd, but there's really, really good instructions in here, and on Jennifer Lauren's blog you can find a photographic description there as well, which is much easier to follow if you are a beginner. But I find this to be an absolutely wonderful little pattern. We always need cardigans in our wardrobe. It's just easy for spring and autumn in particular to throw those on instead of a heavier jacket, or in the summer, you know, when it's just got a little chilly at night. And I tend to make only one version. I make the cropped version. So you can see here there are two. There is one which is more of a boyfriend style cardigan, and that would look amazing with jeans. But as we all know by now, I don't wear trousers. And yes, I might try and make a pair just as part of a learning curve, but I don't wear trousers. But it's a really, really simple design. You've got some cuffs, you've got a waistband, and even the way in which the sleeves are designed on here, I think this is a perfect pattern for color blocking. So, you know, you could have as many colors as you liked. You could have 2, you could have 4, but if you look there at the line drawings, if I can get that, yeah, there we go. You can see there the way the sleeves are set in. Your sleeves could be separate colors. Your waistband and your cuffs could be different colours, and even the button band itself could be colour blocked as well, depending on how adventurous you are feeling. So yeah, the crop version is the one for me because I wear lots of full skirts and I do like that cinched in waist. I feel like I need a little bit of help in that department just to make sure everyone knows there's one there. And I just think that's perfect for me. There is an option as well for 3/4 and long sleeves, so it's quite seasonal, transitional. Yeah, I just tend to go for 3/4 because otherwise I end up pulling on them and fidgeting, and nobody wants that. But those are my 5 top patterns, and as I say, they're top patterns because I've made them the most and I think they're very accessible for all levels of beginners. But you may find that I share 5 more in the incoming days and weeks, because really it was really hard for me to just decide on 5. So that's why I've gone with accessibility and the number of times I've made it, just to help me out in that department. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you do go ahead and make any of those patterns, I'd love to know how you've got on. If you have made them, again, I'd love to know how you found them as well. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really, really be grateful if you could do that, and click on the little notification which will tell you when I have next posted a video. I do plan on getting a few more out there this month. I have some beautiful fabrics to show you. I have a couple of gorgeous projects to show you. I am going to make a couple of videos about how I fit a couple of patterns. So one of them will probably be the patina blouse, which I have been working on recently, and there was another that I was planning on making, but I've forgotten what it is. There was a couple of things that I am going to kind of chronicle and take a wee bit of footage of my fitting process, as well as sewing techniques that I use when creating those makes. So do watch out for those as well. And I will share with you all of the packages that are arriving this month. There's some sitting over there I haven't even opened yet that arrived yesterday. So watch out for that. And do watch out for my blog that is coming to the Craft Cotton Co. very soon. I'm going to spend the rest of the night with a glass of wine writing that blog. So whatever you are up to this evening, or if you're watching this in the morning, whatever lies ahead for you, I hope you have a fantastic day or night. Happy stitching. Stay safe. Bye.